And it's funny how these things happen, because I was in the field with Newmont's Vice President of Exploration, and driving back from the bush one day, he said to me, "So John, when this project is sold off, what are you going to do with yourself?" And I said, "Well, I'm obviously going to be looking for another job." He said, "How do you see yourself in 5 years' time?" And I said, "Well, I would hope that I'd be able to get a job as exploration manager before I'm 35. He said, "How old are you now?" I said, "I'm 32. He said, "Oh, it's very interesting." And I didn't think too much more of it. He went back to Melbourne. Newmont and Kennecott engaged in the process of negotiating to acquire the project. And about 2 weeks later, he called me up and said, "We'd like to offer you the job as exploration manager in Western Australia." So
2 years before your deadline.
3 years. So that sort of goal came true a bit sooner than I thought.
Excellent. And where were you based?
In Perth.
In Perth.
So we up sticks and moved from Sydney to Perth. Ended up being in Perth for 10 years.
Now, and you were with Newmont for several years. And which other parts of the world did you live when working for Newmont?
Well, the move to Perth with Newmont in 1978 was the beginning of a 28-year odyssey, if you like, with Newmont. I was exploration manager in Western Australia for 3 or 4 years, during which time we discovered the New Celebration gold porphyry just south of Kalgoorlie on the Kambalda Road. We're in the process of drilling that out when Newmont decided that they wanted to open an exploration office in Indonesia. This was early 80s. The attraction of the Pacific Ring of Fire as a source of epithermal gold and gold copper porphyry deposits was just starting to be appreciated.
And they'd obviously be aware that you'd already had 2 years Sulawesi experience.
Well, and that was the other thing. They knew that, and I'd already had that period of time working for Kennecott in North Sulawesi, and so they said, you've had the right sort of experience. We need somebody to head up the Indonesian operations. How would you like to do that? And I've got to tell you, I was interested, but I wasn't delirious, because when I left Indonesia with Kennecott, I never ever thought I'd be going back.
And you'd probably grown to love Perth as well.
Well, and that we'd made a major discovery in New Celebration, and we were drilling that out, and I was kind of looking forward to doing a feasibility study on that. But they said, no, other people can do that. We need somebody that's done kind of this kind of thing before. You've done what we wanted you to do in Western Australia. Your Indonesian experience is compelling. We want you to do it. So I sort of had to, if you like, give up multi-million-dollar budget, quite a lot of staff, projects all around Western Australia, an exploration manager's role, and go back to being a greenfields explorer with a rucksack, briefcase and an expense account.
Living in Jakarta?
No, not originally, not initially. The plan was to see what we might be able to find. Indonesia was opening itself up to foreign investment. The Indonesians had, on the back of their Pertamina oil riches, educated quite a lot of their brightest students at grad school in the US. They'd come back from Stanford and Harvard and other places like that with a global economic perspective. I mean, this was a terrific story from an Indonesian perspective, because the government realised that they didn't have the capital domestically to develop their own mineral sector, that it could easily be developed with foreign capital, but they needed to develop exploration tenements and exploration legislation that would encourage foreign investors to come and spend their risk capital finding out what Indonesia had in terms of its natural resources. There had been an earlier contractor work that they'd offered to Freeport, 10 years before, that the Indonesian government was making a very concerted move to attract foreign investors into Indonesia. And Newmont saw that and realised that with a receptive government, with a incentive to foreigners to come, that this was the time to do it. rather than wait around until all the land was taken. So my role was to go and check out Indonesia for its epithermal and porphyry copper gold prospectivity.